Oops, I did it again with your heart. Got lost in the game. Oh, baby, baby. Oops, why can't we just turn this into a Britney Spears fan podcast?
Don't they already have one of those?
Well, I submitted this one.
Well, I want to be a part of that.
I submitted this to become a Britney Spears podcast, but
I want to be a part of that more than anything else.
they put us on a conservatorship. Now we got Britney's dad harassing us. I'm like, I just want to go to McDonald's. But you're making me go to Target.
Hey, Dad.
Eating a lot of bacon egg bites at the Starbucks.
We ready on this one? Okay.
Combination Taco Bell.
A what?
KFC. Combination KFC and Taco Bell. It's a song.
I'm
at the Taco Bell.
Why do they do that?
KFC.
That combination of those things?
It's the best collaboration since the Avengers.
Okay, and how often are you going to KFC?
Every time I drive past Harrison, because it's just on the outskirts and I don't want to stop in Harrison.
Yeah, there's nothing else there. That's why.
Just racists and garbage.
It's the worst.
I mean, sorry, there's only one thing there. Same thing.
Garbage?
Garbage are racists are garbage.
Yeah.
Kidding. People, there's probably some good people in Harrison.
I think there are.
I'd love to meet some.
I would love to. I haven't yet.
I see their billboards, and I just stop at the combination KFC and Taco Bell.
Yeah, those are bad. Don't they have Pizza Hut and is combined with something else too?
Yeah, but it's a combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell. Okay, it's Pizza Hut and Taco Bell is the song. I'm at the Pizza Hut. I'm at the Taco Bell. I'm at the combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell. And it talks about like two people getting put together.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, you're mocking me. Stop it, Neil.
Tyler's had a look in his eyes that kind of frightened me.
It's the fajitas. Like a fajita.
We had some
fajitas for dinner.
Fajitas for dinner. Is dinner. Hey, it's gonna be welcome
real.
everybody.
It's about to get real.
This one is gonna be tough, and I'm gonna be honest. So Tyler has told me that technically we have an episode that is one of the higher listened to episodes.
It was also our last episode for a year and a half, so maybe that's why.
I mean, I like to think that it's because we gave good content.
Yeah, and then we left that good content there.
Yeah, well, so people probably listened to that episode, which was starting a church.
Yeah, and we did that because you went and started a church.
Because I went and started a church, and COVID has happened, and we have had how long? How many months have we said that we wanted to do this episode?
Well, honestly, if you look at the timeline, which all of you guys do, all of our listeners look at the timeline.
Yeah, sure.
It's fun. We have we start with explaining podcast, which makes sense. We're starting a podcast. It's very meta.
Sure.
So we roll through and then we do all these random things.
I know where you're going with this.
And then it's essentially the last episode ever, what seems was really just season 1.
Yeah.
Was starting a church because Neil left me.
Well,
for greener pastures that are not greener.
Well,
it's actually quite ugly in Ohio.
Wow.
It's not my fault. The place is a barren wasteland for joy. Okay. And so I'm kidding. It's funny. My friend Mark, he lived in Ohio for, he's on the grind. Whenever my buddy Mark lived up there, my friend Jared and I would just constantly talk about how he lived in the worst state in the United States.
The worst one.
It's fine. It's just mostly vowels. It's like 75% vowels. Like, calm down. What are you trying to prove here, Ohio? Anyways, and so our last episode of season 1 was how to start a church. And then we didn't do anything for a year and a half.
Right, yeah. It was rough.
If you look at it, it's like how to stop a church. It's like the gap is explained because there's a church in there.
Yeah.
But it was still pretty fresh. Neil, shut up.
It was pretty fresh. So we started a church. The episode that we are doing right now is called Shutting Down a Church. So it's the exact opposite of starting a church because that is what we had to do. Our church was called Trademark Church. We had high hopes. I got high hopes.
And literally the month you moved there, COVID shut down the world.
Yeah, COVID. So
#, timing.
Apparently timing is everything. That's what I've heard.
They say if you're going to start a business, it's all about 3 things. Timing. Actually, it's location.
Yeah, but timing seems right.
Yeah, mix that with a bad location.
Yeah. That's a recipe for disaster. So we ended up shutting Trademark Church down. But one of the best things of that entire church startup process was I had a chance to get to know one of Tyler's really good friends.
Yippers.
Mark Cox.
Yep.
And so
Mark H. His middle name starts with an H.
What?
His middle name starts with an H.
His middle name does?
When he can't get his username.
I call him Mark freaking Cox.
Yeah, that's an F.
That's not. That's a letter.
Not a bad F.
No, that's a good.
Medium bad F.
So this one is going to be a special one because we are going to ask him to be a part of it.
Yep.
You know what would be really cool is if we could add another caller in and do a 4-way call, but just have Joseph Tilley do the music live for us. So we didn't have to push this button.
I'll tell you this.
It would be incredible.
I'm here for it. He lives in
imagine that?
California, which is a much better state than Ohio.
Yeah, and he'd have to get up a lot earlier to do this with us.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the Tyler and Neil Explain Everything podcast. Now officially your 4th favorite podcast. Hit the subscribe button and make sure you go to patreon.com/explain everything to get exclusive episodes. Looks like we made it.
So why are we having Mark on here? Because I could say he shut down a church in Ohio.
You could say it.
I'll tell you this. Of the 3 people on here, I am the only person who has not shut down a church in Ohio in the whole group. Even more specifically, I am the only person on here who has not shut down a church in Dublin, Ohio.
Yeah. This one's going to be. It's going to
be hard. I don't know how you're doing it. It would be really hard for me because the amount of work, time, effort, energy.
This is the most painful thing that I've ever gone through. Not this podcast,
but shutting down that church.
Shutting down the church, just because you sell everything you have,
or you have someone
house.
steal it out of. I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. That was too much. I'm so sorry.
I don't know if Mark knows that. I haven't told him.
I haven't either. You want to tell him on the podcast?
We can tell him on the podcast.
No, we don't have to, Neil.
No, I think we should.
Is it a secret?
Not anymore. It isn't. I told it to the entire church.
I just said it to millions of people around the world. And all our millions. Is this a Patreon or a regular? I said every episode.
I know you do, yeah. It doesn't really matter anymore.
No,
I think this is a regular.
Everybody that listens is on the Patreon. Patreon.com/explain everything, which I would never plug on the show.
No.
It's not about us. It's not about making money, Neil. We do it for the love of the game.
They're already here.
We're like Kevin Costner. Everybody's already on the Patreon. It's for love of the game.
Bull Durham.
Don't cut your hand. You know what I mean?
Don't cut your hand.
No.
Especially if you're a pitcher.
If you cut your hand and then you stick it on your face, you look like an orc from Lord of the Rings.
Or if you look like a volleyball and you look like Wilson.
Wilson!
I am going to add Mark Cox into this.
This is going to be high class. Do I need to stall? Or are we just going to
no?
Because we can't hear it ring, can we?
I don't know.
Oh, this is really cool, Neil.
Yeah, this is actually, we can really do this. So we're calling Mark, and
hopefully
he's like at a drive-through. I think he's in a drive-through right now.
Oh, he's at a combination pizza and Taco Bell. He's just going to both.
No way. I am in a drive-through.
Oh, are you really? Are you really?
No way. Absolutely not.
Oh,
I swore off Taco Bell a long time ago, gentlemen.
Starting off with a lie. That's
Mark Cox. Hey, Tyler says your middle name is H, and I've only used your name as Mark freaking Cox, so I didn't know it was with an H. I had no idea.
H is my whole middle name.
Yeah,
H. That's just it.
Well, I thought it was Heckin.
Just H.
Mark Heckin Cox.
Mark, welcome to the internationally acclaimed #1 in Germany. No, we're not. We're trending in Germany, but we're definitely not #1. Aren't we trending in Germany?
Yeah. Which is where you want to trend.
You're definitely my 4th favorite podcast.
Hey,
that's all I've ever wanted.
That's all.
We don't shoot for the stars. We shoot for the ozone layer.
and really, it's just a blanket, or it's a suit of armor around the earth.
It really is.
A suit of armor. Thank you.
That works out for everybody.
Mark, hey man, welcome. How you doing? You got time? You got time to talk?
Absolutely, I do.
Okay, this is good. We're doing a podcast called "Who's More Ticklish."
Oh, I almost threw up fajita. Like a fajita.
We had fajita for lunch. So we're doing this episode. This is we've had this on our docket for a while, Mark, and I haven't wanted to do it, and you've given me the courage to go on.
What?
Because you're here with us. So we're talking about shutting down a church. We didn't, we haven't really spoiled everything with people. The irony here, where did you, all right. So tell people that we've already told people, we did a whole episode on us trying to start one in Dublin, Ohio.
Hey, from Dublin.
He's look, St. Patrick Mahomes.
Patty Mahomes.
Patty.
He's from Dublin.
Oh,
he's not from Dublin. Nothing good ever came out of Dublin.
Hey, hush your mouth.
I guess so.
Good things went there and came back.
Yeah, exactly. But nothing was born there.
Yeah. So people don't know. Tell them about, because you and your family, you started a church. Ironically, tell them where and when, because they need to hear this.
Yeah, in Dublin. So the quick story is, we are two people who moved from Arkansas to Dublin to plant a church. I moved there in 2014, and so I can tell you that we knew that we were going to land in Columbus. We had lived in Columbus right out of college. So graduated in 2005, and there's a church on the north side of Columbus in Westerville that hired me, worked there for 2 years. What a fantastic connection. Ended up moving to Indian Springs Baptist Church in Arkansas, Bryan, Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I would have got connected with everyone that, that's how I met Tyler.
That's how
we go way back.
And all that. Yeah.
You guys do.
So anyway,
seriously.
So in 2014, we moved to Columbus, and we knew for the last almost 3 years that we were going to be moving to Columbus to plant. We didn't know exactly where, and drove through Columbus specifically. In fact, what's really funny is, Dublin is big enough to plant in different sides of Dublin.
Yeah.
But the part that drew us to Dublin is exactly where you planted.
Oh my gosh.
Just on the other side of the river. I can tell you that we were walking around. There's downtown Dublin there, and there's a Starbucks there. There's Jenny's Ice Cream.
Yep, right on the corner.
Little kind of like downtown area.
That's incredible.
And that is just kind of the moment. And everyone always wonders, like, well, how do you know? Well, we did research. We bought almanacs. Farmers' almanacs.
Not very good research.
Farmers' almanacs.
You did a research. What year was it? 1886.
We bought them from Biff.
Yeah. Oh, what are the odds?
Wow,
okay.
Deep cuts.
But we did all the research on the population growth and all that. And Columbus was the 15th largest city. I think it grew to the 14th largest city, and then Dublin was one of those areas that was growing as well. And so we planted in Dublin in 2000. Well, moved there in 2014, launched in 2015.
So the name of the church?
Access Church.
So Access Church. You guys were set up tear down. You were mobile or portable.
Yeah, we were totally mobile. We were on, anyone who's in the area. We were on Sawmill Road, and we met in a little elementary school. And we had a trailer. There's a little Moravian church actually that let us park.
What kind
trailer
of Moravian?
Moravian. Yeah.
The Grand Meridian, Mandalorian, Mandalorian church.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you now.
Don't take your mask off. They don't like that.
Anyway, we were set up and tear down in an elementary school, which is incredibly exhausting. It's fun. It's obviously cheaper. Yeah. So I think our rent was somewhere around $450 a month or a week. A week. And it was it was great. It was great. We did what we could do, and church planting is difficult. Long story short, we ended up closing the doors in Memorial Day weekend of 2018. So,
gosh.
Yeah.
Our stories. What's so funny is, like, we knew we wanted to go to Columbus when we started Trademark. We went there, traveled around, and just fell in love with Dublin. Like, the Bridge Park area specifically. And I'm like, the odds that this is where you were just mind blowing. And we talked through Marco Polo or on the phone. I want to say it was every day.
It's every day, bro.
It was every day, bro. It was constant. It was constant. Well,
Jake Paul's from Ohio.
Yeah,
it's every day, bro.
He needs to be let go.
He's a professional boxer.
You could say he's a boxer. I don't know.
He saved boxing
single-handedly.
Well, he used both hands. He also used his face a lot. Yeah, barely. Yeah. He won. He's won all his matches. He's undefeated.
If you don't do air quotes on one, then how dare
he won everything? He beat Tyson Fury, not Tyson Fury, the other guy,
Mike.
He's set to fight Tyson Fury.
Tyson.
No, he would destroy.
He would get. Oh, so that's what you're saying is he's fake boxing. You're talking about celebrity boxing.
No. He fought a MMA champion.
Past his prime, not even really good. Sorry, Tyler just looked at me.
What in the world? Why are you coming? I'm trying to say something decent came out of Ohio, and you're no, he don't like him.
I don't like him.
Wow.
Hey, Tyler.
Yeah.
Hey, Tyler.
Hey.
What exactly are your thoughts on Ohio? Because you've made them plain to me, but I feel like it's time for you to go public.
Man, I'll be honest. Okay, I know I joke about Ohio, but Ohio is one of the top 49 states in the continental United States.
Continental, yeah.
It's actually number 4. Hawaii's better than it in the continental, even though it's not in the continental. It's still so good. It's better than that.
Tyler came up and visited. He actually jumped in and helped us MC a live service.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was fun. and we went on scooters.
Yeah, that's actually what ruined it. It was me.
No,
I ruined everything.
So we So we started our church through the ARC, the Association of Related Churches, and what they do is they help you raise money. They help do this training. It was 16 weeks of training. Then you go to an intensive. You have to go through classes. They vet you. You sit down at a like tables with coaches. You get a coach, and they walk through the whole startup process, tell you how to do your. I mean, it's kind of like a science, which is a little weird, but okay. You went through a different organization. What?
Yeah.
How did you get there?
Yeah, so I went through the North American Mission Board eventually. Now, I can tell you that, which, by the way, that's like an arm of the Southern Baptist. That's like the national arm of the Southern Baptist.
Okay.
And so,
but how do you pronounce that acronym?
NAM. You know,
so they need one of the vowels from Ohio to even that out.
Well, the Ohio's high, so it's an apostrophe, and that's ma'am.
NAM. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, NAM. Yeah. I said ma'am. Sorry, I don't know how to spell.
So we investigated a lot of those different groups. We looked at ARC, we looked at Acts 29, and all this kind of stuff. And it's quite frankly like exhausting. And you can be duly aligned with different networks, but some of them get real hyper specific about you know, who you're getting money from, who's speaking into the leadership of the church, you know, and some don't want to be duly aligned based on, you know, beliefs and things like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, you know, I had
they were supportive though, right?
Churches and was very, yeah,
okay,
incredibly. In fact, so and I don't exactly know when they started, but they identified 32 North American cities that they called Send Cities, SEND.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where they were saying, like, by and large, we are pouring resources.
We need somebody there
only to these cities. Yeah. So we're not going to plant in, you know, Podunk, Montana. Like, we're going to plant.
That's actually Podunk's actually in Ohio.
Send all these resources. In Ohio and California are actually two of the only states that had 3 states. So Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati were all listed as like vastly unchurched. And the further north you go, the worse off it is.
Yeah.
So Cleveland, you know, and they're going to talk in numbers of, you know, 1 per every Southern Baptist church.
Okay.
1 Southern Baptist church for every, you know, but it was 1 Southern Baptist church for every 46,000 people in Cleveland.
Oh my gosh.
At the time. And Columbus was 1 for 18,000. I think Cincinnati was 1 for every 10. But you know,
it's a difficult place.
There's tons of great churches doing that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's tons of great churches in the area, but it's still vastly unchurched.
So what's wild is the farther you go north, the closer you get to the East Coast. Like Boston is near impossible. They're almost like just don't do it. It's difficult.
Why is it so difficult?
I have a friend that just moved out of Boston.
Brady. Tom.
Oh, because he left?
Yes,
Tampa is a lot more friendly.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Honestly, so we joke around, but like if you could do it in the South, if you could start one there, they recommend that because it's so much easier to start a church. You're just up against things up in Ohio, but we knew the risk going into it. Like you knew that going into it. And you're like, hey, it's worth it.
In the aftermath, did you find yourself asking that like over and over and over? And you even had friends, you had a network in Arkansas. You could have planted in Arkansas.
Oh yeah.
And did you find yourself thinking like, if I would have planted in Arkansas, I bet you would still be, you know? But that wasn't the mission, right? Like,
right.
That wasn't the point.
You if that thought creeps in and you spend too much time thinking about it, it's almost like you're done. You got to go. No, hang on a minute. Like we sold out to this, so we're going to do it.
Yeah.
It is difficult to do, especially in a city like that. And okay. So what is one of the toughest things that you ran up against in the whole church startup side of it? Like the thing that you feel like you're like, oh my gosh, this thing was like working against me.
Yeah. If I had to say if I had to pinpoint one specific thing, like the honorable mentions are like obviously finances, you know, raising finances. One of the we probably could have still kept going if we had enough money to like say purchase a facility where we didn't have to move in and move out.
Yep.
Like that doesn't exhaust the team. But that's not even like the hardest of it all. I think the hardest of it all is, you know, building so much trust within the community that it doesn't seem like a bait and switch. It doesn't seem like a pyramid scheme, befriending you so that you can be on my team, so that I can make money off of you, so you can be a part of my thing. And then in Columbus, you know, I'd say Columbus is, may not be like the San Francisco of the East Coast, but that's like where the Stonewall Parade is.
Yep.
very, very democratic in Columbus. And so, not that there can't be Democrats in church, but what I'm telling you is like everyone that I met, I probably met maybe a total of like 5 couples out of maybe 150, 200 couples that would identify as Christian.
Yeah.
And so,
they
for sure are not trying to go to church.
Right.
And I think that's the point is you're not trying to like, well, I want to get you in church. That's my mission.
Yeah.
But that is, if I had to identify the actual, absolutely like most tough thing about church planning, it's that, you have to have that strong foundation because assume no growth for the first, 5-10 years while you're just building trust in the community.
Right. It takes so long to do it. Somebody told me a stat. This was earlier this week. They said that the organizations that are sending people out now say that if you don't have 7 couples that you are close with and have years of ministry experience with, they won't send somebody out to start a church unless those couples will go with them. And they said that number is actually getting higher. There's a church that is in Columbus right now that is very successful, but that's because they took 4 years to raise money, to raise support, to raise awareness at their existing church, and they had 11 couples moved with them. Wow. That's like, I can't even dear Lord, that would be invaluable. So the human connection, but also building trust with people in the community, it takes so long because, you could be a sleazebag. You could be there, hey man, I can't wait to hang out with you, blah, 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 blah. What I really need you to do is roll these rugs up and throw this back in the truck and do all this work for, it's just like, come on. That's the hard part is I think if you are going to be pure to who you are and you're a people person, like you're not going to lie to people. So you can't look them in the eye and lie. So it takes a long time. Right. Like, hey, I'm in this for you. Yeah, it's tricky.
And to hear you say that, I don't know that I had the patience, of course, when I left. I left in 2014. I don't know how old I was. Well, 31. I was 31 when I moved. And I don't know that I had the patience to, knowing what I know now, do what I should have done, which is wait. Exactly what that pastor, whoever you're talking about, that pastor in Ohio, the patience to wait, to raise the finances,
right?
To, like you could like, well, we got 6 couples, we can go. Now we need 11.
That would be tough.
And and if I were to do it all over again, everyone is different. Everyone's got a different model. If I was to do it all over again, I would move to the city. And if I was moving, if I was going to plant where I lived, obviously,
it's totally different.
It's done. Yeah. But I would be building relationships for no less than 5 years. Get a regular old job, because most of these church planners have had church jobs for their whole life.
Yeah.
And so you might find a church that's willing to hire you, knowing that you're going to plant a church down the road, or you can just go work at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes to pay the bills for 5 years, just build those relationships in the neighborhood, because Mark was walking up and down the street within 5 months and saying, do you want to be a part of my church? They're like,
oh yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah. You're talking, and they teach you this in all of these church startup orgs. They teach you every time you're getting coffee, every time you go into a restaurant, when you're at the grocery store, you are selling the entire time. If you're talking to somebody, you're supposed to ask them a question. Hey man, what do you do for a living? So the second they tell you what they do, you can go, I'm a church planter and I am starting a church.
We got a C with your name on it. It's embroidered in gold. It's on a pew.
Yeah.
Pew, 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 pew.
It's just like that. I can't do that. Because people see right through. All right, I don't have any good friendships like that started that way. That's how I met Tyler. Tyler and I were in the produce section. He's like, "Hey, I have a gold pew with your name on it." Blah blah blah.
And then I got him to come to my church, and then now he's here. We call it Tyler's church. It's a little on the money.
Yeah. So, Mark, I haven't said anything about this on here. You're in the process. If you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. But you're in the process of doing something right now that you're working on. Yeah. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
I can talk about that.
This is a plug. This is a plug before it all happens. So that's what this is.
Well, yeah, let's hope we finish the project. So I'm writing a book. About this whole story. And what I realized is, first and foremost, so my kids, when we moved to Ohio, my youngest was 3 months old. So we had, I think, a 4, and barely 2, like he had just turned 2, a 4, 2, and a 3-month-old. a 3-month-old, excuse me. And I really wanted them, especially, to have like a written history of what our family was a part of and what we did. But I also wanted to make sure that church planners had some form of encouragement. And maybe it's guys that have been in the trenches and have walked away from church planning for various reasons. Or maybe it's people that are in the thick of it that are discouraged. And so what I'm doing is I'm writing, and it's really like a memoir. It's like my story.
Yeah.
And so every chapter will essentially sum up like a season. It really goes across 10 years. From the very first moment, it was actually October 2008. I was talking with a friend who was originally, this is kind of a spoiler, originally I was supposed to plant with him, and he's older than me. He's been a mentor to me. And long story short, and I can tell that story in the book, it flip-flopped. And he ended up going to plant somewhere, and I ended up planting go somewhere, and different states, different churches entirely. And, and just the way God did that whole story. Anyway, the book is going to be essentially 10 or 11 chapters. Each chapter is a season of that journey. And what I learned and unlearned about God, specifically, because I think one of the things that I learned the most, is that it's just not going to be a pretty picture always. And I think we hear that in sermons, but we don't actually necessarily believe it. And I got wrecked. I can tell you that one of the reasons that I want to write this book also is that my identity took a pretty huge shot.
Oh, heck yeah.
And what I can tell you is that for most of my life, everything that I did, like I had a pretty great family, everything was up and to the right. Jumped into ministry, everything went well. It was all up and to the right. And then in 2016, we started to see things go kind of down. And I realized that like my soul was crumbling with the tower that was falling. The name of our church and the momentum was failing. And when I saw my own identity kind of crumbling with that, I was like, hold up, what is going on here? And it did not occur to me that I had wrapped my identity up in like kind of like the success of what I do in ministry. And that really wrecked me for a while. I can tell you, I don't know that I was clinically like depressed.
Yep.
But I did feel for about a 3-month period, just kind of like a cloud following me. I didn't feel like I had purpose. Didn't feel like I knew what was going to happen next. And so I wanted to write a little bit about that because right now where I'm at, I'm in a church in Texas. I'm doing student ministry again. I think the headline on that for a lot of people could be, couldn't cut it in church planning, bumped back down to student ministry.
Oh, dang.
And you kind of live with that in the back of your head. But the truth is, I love working in student ministry. As my wife and I do this together. She's one of the best youth workers that I've ever worked with, and that is in our student ministry now. And we just love it.
That's
and
good.
We feel like we're earning wins for the team, which is like something I didn't feel like I was doing in Ohio.
Yeah.
So anyway, I kind of want to talk about that identity piece in the book.
That's awesome. And for clarification for our listeners, when Mark said his wife is one of the best youth workers, she works with youth. She is not a youth who's working there. just so everybody knows. The clarity.
Teenager.
Yes,
the clarity.
Yeah. For clarity's sake.
Yeah, she's
Okay. Hey, thanks for that.
Yeah, she's 21.
We're helping you out.
You're cleaning this.
We're helping you. Mark Cox canceled. He's done.
And that's what the C in Mark Cox stands for.
Look, man, what you're talking about, the wrestling match of it, I think it would actually be therapeutic for me to be able to read somebody else's story about how they went through this, because this is the most difficult thing that we have ever done, my wife Gina and I, ever. And then what you don't realize is what you do next is equally as difficult, because you still are reeling from the effects or what it felt like, and it's so wrapped up in your identity.
Yeah.
You're like, oh. So what we noticed in all of this is that the church startup organization that we belong to, or that started us off, they don't have any part of their church, they're the organization that is dedicated to helping people who have to shut their church down. And I realize why, because the optics on that are horrible.
And they don't want to give, like, it's almost like that's an option. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, if it doesn't work out, we got these great people over here for it. No, we got Timmy over here in whatever, in the back room, that he'll talk to you about it if you need to. Yeah. But there's nothing that exists for that. So
it's like a prenup.
after it was all done, like I'll say it, I don't think I'm like ratting on anybody. I haven't heard from those people at all.
Yeah.
Not one time.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad about it, but you think, oh, that's because this is a church startup organization. They don't know how to help people who shut it down.
On launch.
And that decision for us, so COVID was unbelievably related to what we did. I mean, we still decided to do it. So of the 44 churches that decided to start that year, 40 of them stopped. We are one of the knuckleheads that said, all right, we'll go ahead and we'll keep doing it. And we did everything. Everything was digital. It was mobile. And we did it as long as we could. You run out of money, but you also run out of energy after a while. And actually, it wasn't the money side of it for us. We could have sustained that. But I was dying trying to continue this thing. And what you don't get is we had small groups. We had people in homes. We had pockets of people, but we never had momentum. So you're helping individuals, but you're not helping this big church thing. And people don't know how to celebrate that. They don't know how to go like, oh my gosh, that's a win. But in all reality, when we walk away from it, you go, now, you know what? Like we helped this couple with their marriage and they didn't have anybody to help them. So that has to be a win. And I know it's so cliche to say, well, we're going to go do it for the one. I mean, it's easy to say that until you have to do it. And then you're like, okay. Yes, but what are you thinking?
No, I'm just saying, like you're absolutely right. The problem is, and it's the same thing with like I'm, obviously you guys are like legit pastors. I mean, I have my card, so if you guys need me to marry you, I can do that. Not you two, but other people on the thing.
There we are.
If anybody's got any amazing youth workers that work with youth, I can marry y'all. But like as an educator. Like you sit there and you don't see the long-term impact you make in people's lives because you're there for that season or that moment.
Yeah.
You don't see the transitions or the fork in the road that you help guide people on. And then like, once every couple of years, they're like, there's a Facebook trend. The teacher made a difference in my life. And somebody tags you and you're like, you were just a kid that I made a little bit extra effort to build rapport with. You guys like saved me. Y'all's is like, even on a bigger level, you're helping people with marriages, their walk, like everything. It's an impactful thing, and you don't get to see where they go. Like I was a part of a church startup in Little Rock, City Church, and like that's where I was teaching high school math at the time. That's where I got the chance to be creative, make videos, got encouraged. Like Neil and I met because of the connection and what I was doing there. So like this podcast would not exist if that church startup, which doesn't exist anymore, did not happen. Neil and I would not be doing this podcast.
That's how I met you too. When it really comes down to it, it was all mutual friends.
That's crazy.
That's how I met your mother too. About nine seasons to kind of tell that whole story. So we'll save it for later.
Spoilers on that.
But it's crazy. That's how Mark and I met. And like I think of like my top 4 friends, 3 of them I met because that church started and I helped start it for the first 2 years. I was a part of that team. I mean, I didn't do as much as like the main people, but like I was there but and I was a big part of it.
So there's something really cool about being in the middle of a startup like that. And if everything goes well, that's great, but it takes so much energy to do it. And it also has a lot to do with the people that are there. Yeah. Like I don't get to pick who is going to be a part of it in the city, all those things. We were surrounded by some great people, but COVID specifically. And then the flip side of that. So I have to say this. There are other extenuating circumstances. I'll pay you $10 to kill this fly.
There's a fly that is literally
$10 right now. Kill it.
That's the devil at work. Neil's trying to take you out, trying to shut your mouth. It's literally flying in your mouth.
The devil just be so busy.
Let me play devil's advocate. That fly's doing the Lord's work.
I don't think so. So what was tricky is you're alone. Like you were isolated for all of the effort and energy that you put into this thing. You realize I don't have anybody that I can just unload on, talk with, because I can't do this with the people we're trying to pastor. And the people who sent us here aren't here. Like they're not here. So you are so completely isolated in that. And if you add one other extenuating circumstance to that, you're like, oh, great, this thing is going to fall apart. It's really a delicate balance, like your own soul, your own mental health, and then your energy level. It's tough.
And what's interesting too, because it's crazy. You guys started in the same, you launched in the same location.
Yeah.
And thanks to the wonders of Marco Polo, I was with you guys. I was with you when you went through your process of thinking about it, to deciding to do it and then, moving and all that. Like we were talking almost every day, like on Marco Polo,
That's
you,
crazy.
me and Jared. And then Neil and I were talking to Marco Polo all the time. And it's like, it's wild watching you guys go through that process of like making the decision, seeing the road set in front of you and what you think is the best decision for you, your family, your, like you said, your effort and energy, talking about like, how long can I sustain working 24 hours a day,
right,
7 days a week?
Yeah.
And it's like, and I've got all these, like, you both had different factors playing against you, but it's just like watching you guys go through that and the emotional toll, like it took on you guys. Like, Mark, what do you think was like one of the hardest things for you? I know you've talked about different things with regards to like, the impact it made, but like, what was one of the hardest things in that process that people might not expect?
Man, I can tell you, so I've been listening to this podcast, and no free ads, but sorry, we're going to do this. The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill.
There it is. I don't know if you guys are aware. I wondered if you were going to say
I'm not finished with it.
I haven't finished. I made it through 6.
It's interesting because from my perspective, I was a big Mark Driscoll fan. So for anyone who's listening, this huge church that was just one of the most influential churches in the entire world. And then I think around 2013, 14, really started to go downhill real fast because of some leadership issues and things like that. Go find the podcast. It's interesting. Most people struggle with that podcast, and I promise I'm answering your question. Most people struggle with that podcast because it feels like failure porn is what I think what they're calling it.
Oh, wow. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, sorry.
Wasn't that the name of your church? I'm just kidding. It's a terrible church name.
Terrible.
Don't incorporate that word into anything.
So I was listening to this. I still think about Access Church every day, right? And as I'm listening to this podcast about Mars Hill falling and failing, I'm starting to realize as I'm listening to these stories about what Mark Driscoll did wrong. And I'm like, for Pete's sake, what if they did a podcast on me? And what I'm thinking, I'm dead serious. This is the answer to my question. Is I think in the back of my head, I still deal with kind of this imaginary critic that says, "You remember how you did that? Yeah, that was probably a mistake. That's probably why it didn't work. That's probably why it wasn't sustainable. That's probably why they left. That's probably why the guests never came back. That's probably why the worship leader didn't sign on." And so I think it's so the church plant is done. The assets have all been forwarded to other church plants. And honestly, a ton of those people got connected in other churches. I think a lot of them are healthier when we closed than when we started.
Right.
There's a lot of wins, but I'm still left in my head. And I think in my darkest moments, I still think there's someone out there that feels like about me the way people do about Mark Driscoll. And that's the thing that bothers me the most.
Wow.
Mark, I know you, and I've heard that you're not similar to Mark. Like, yes, you may have let some people down.
I'm aware of that. So let me just be very honest.
Okay.
I'm not saying like I'm confessing or anything. I'm just saying the people that I started that church with were people by and large that were involved in my student ministry from right out of college. So do the math on that. I'm there from 2005 to 2007. I leave in 2007 for 7 years. I'm in Arkansas, and then I move back and I reconnect with all those people, and they're in their 20s, right? And they're figuring out life. Some of them have already been married and divorced and have kids.
Yeah.
And they're in kind of their own mess. So what I'm telling you is, and I'm still haunted by some of those people that were my students in one era of my life and who walked away speechless and upset with me, 12 years later.
Wow.
And that's what kind of, that kind of sits on me, that weight. Yeah. And then and then it's like the people that you legit were discipling and serving and helping, and you just had to walk away because, quite honestly, at the end of our time, and I'm not going to go too deep into this, but like we were in real financial trouble at the end of our time there because we had sunk everything into the church plant. I was looking for jobs and stuff. I couldn't find the right connection. When we closed in 2018, didn't know if we're going to stay in ministry. At one point I was going to work for a construction company. At one point I was going to work, someone was trying to get me to manage a Kroger, which is nuts when I think about it.
Wow.
They're like, no, you'd be perfect for that. I'm like, are you sure?
Really?
But all of those things combined, it's the feeling of maybe ineffectiveness, and it's the feeling of you're done. You can't bring anything of value. And I know in my brain that's not true, but you still fight those demons. So that's the answer to my question.
It's a wrestling match. Yeah. To be honest with you, most days I lose it. I don't win that, because I think this is what my wife, she's always trying to remind me. I said, well, honey, we failed. Like we didn't do it. Like, she's like, no, you didn't fail. I'm like, is there a church still? Is there even, is the 501c3 is shut down? Like, it doesn't exist anymore. And she's like, you're measuring the wrong things. Like, okay. And then the days that I win, I realize the same thing you do. There are people that are in a church now. There is gear and equipment and whatever. We fed shut-ins who couldn't get out during COVID, and we went and served the city. Like, all those things are wins. Which is funny because Gene and I keep asking ourselves. So that whole joke about I would do it for the one, we keep asking ourselves this one. I go, hey, which one do you think it was? Like, which one? Like, when you look back, you think it was that one? Like, no, it definitely could be that one. No, I'm sure that was. Because you really start looking around. You're like, okay, God, why did we go there? And I'm not going to get that answer. And I don't think I should expect it in 6 months or 6 years. I don't know that. So the lesson, obedience is the most important thing, but obedience isn't that if you know how it's going to go. Obedience is doing it even when you don't know how it's going to turn out, and that's difficult. The other thing is that what it did for us, we measure wins differently now. I don't attendance. That's great. That has to be an important metric somewhere. But at the end of the day, a conversation with someone is a win. Spending time with them is a win. Building a relationship is a win. If you can disciple them, that is a win. But those things, we don't know how to measure those in big churches. You don't know how to measure those in most churches because it doesn't seem sexy. It's not like, hey, oh my gosh, you guys, I can't wait to I talked to Rita for 20 minutes. And it's just like, is that a win? I don't know. Yes, it is, because she needs a pastor.
It's hard to quantify.
They just want access. The thing, see what I did there? What we
that is your trademark.
Also, what we learned is that you can do mobile church, but you can't do it without brick and mortar. And you can do brick and mortar church, but you can't do it. It's not going to succeed unless you're doing mobile. So that's like my main takeaway. There was hit after hit after hit of painful moments and things like that, but there were good moments. We have teenage kids, and for them, it's very different for them versus you with little kids. Your kids are not going to remember some of that. So I understand why you would want to write all that down. Our kids, the only benefit of it was they watched us take this absolutely ludicrous risk and still process through it. Instead of having it all together, they got to see us not have it all together. And hopefully when they look back, they're at least proud of us. I didn't do this for them, but at least they got to see, hey, listen, this is what it looks like to trust God. This is what it looks like to be faithful and not set the table for God and say, God, here's what you could do with my life. Like, you just clean the table and go, okay, God, what do you want to do? That's difficult. That's difficult. We don't have much to show for it by way of what you would classic measurement. And that has to be okay. There's been some difficult spots in it.
And I have to imagine, kind of piggybacking on what you're saying, I have to imagine in the same ways that I have middle schoolers in my student ministry right now that are going to call me in 20 years. Yeah. And they're going to say, that really mattered. And I'm going to be like, wow, that's fuel in the tank, but I don't know that now. There's God is building a kingdom in Columbus, and there's little things that are like notching away in that momentum. And as much as I don't want to be a part of like the sad part of that story, I'm happy to be a part of it, and I'm happy. Yeah. It's exactly what you're saying. The obedience end of it. It's like, if I knew in 2013, what I know now, would I still go?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you would? Because
I would probably do a couple things differently.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
By and large, I wouldn't. But by and large, because that's the thing. Like it's hard to explain. But at every moment, when God says move, you move.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to explain. It's like, well, don't you think you should have done that differently? It's like, well, yeah, thanks, bro. But you weren't there, like in my moments leading up to this, and like my mountaintop moments with God telling me, like, go, move, do this. Even if you don't feel ready, even if you don't feel adequate. Yeah. I
had a guy that I called for advice, and I was like, listen, I'm having a hard time getting like some momentum and getting some leaders together. I said, listen, and it was a struggle for me to call him for advice. And I'm like, listen, I could really use some help. And he goes, all right. It's like, tell me what your scenario is. I was like, well, I'm trying to gather some people so we can get momentum on this. But he goes, I'll tell you what I would do. It's what I always do. It's like I would get 50 of the best people you can find and get them in a room together, and you look them eye to eye and you challenge their butts off. You don't break your stare. Like, you look at them and you say, listen, I know you've had an easy life. I know that things are going really well for you, but I need you to do this. And I was like, I'm listening to this pitch, and I went, legally, I can only have 10 people in the room, sir. What I said,
I can't even have all COVID-19 in there. I can only have COVID-10.
I can't get. I was like, sir, can I have them all?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh. Well, I don't know what you should do then.
We had a good run.
Okay. Oh. So there's crazy extenuating circumstances. Look, dude, I know that we say this, like, this doesn't define you. You are, our identity sometimes gets wrapped up in it, and we think that we failed at that means that we failed as a person, but that's just not the case, man. I look at you and what you are doing in ministry, and you're still doing it, which is huge. And I think that says a lot about your character. So I do think there is life after shutting a church down, but it's tricky. Oh gosh, it's tricky because we had options. We could have done. There were a lot of other things we could have gone and done, but I said, all right, we'll jump back into it.
Man,
yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, thanks, man. That's good. That's a good word.
Thanks, guys. Before we do 3v3, I just want to let you guys know I'm starting a church in Dublin, and I'd like y'all to come with me.
Oh, that hurts. Kidding. That hurts. Yeah, I know a place. I know a place.
It's called Failure Porn Church.
Oh my God.
I can't say. I'm sorry. Can we bleep that? That sounds just bad to say.
What's crazy is I could tell, the month after we left, there was a fire 4 stories above or below. No, it's actually right where our church was. And then right below, we joked around about this in the last episode, like Urban Meyer's Pint House was underneath us, and that's where he got in all this trouble. It's like, ugh, the place is kind of greasy right now. It's like, I don't know, man. It's it was weird. You watch all this stuff, and your heart breaks for the place. You love the place, but you're like, guys, hold it together. Hey, do you, Mark?
So we have a segment on here, Mark. It's called 3v3.
Yeah, Mark, I'm going to push a button here. I'm going to push a button, and then magical things are going to happen.
Take us there, Mark.
Mark's not taking us there.
These are his shoes.
Welcome to the party, pal. This is 3v3.
His feet are like chirping on that. Chirp.
He's juking them.
Man, yeah, he juking.
Spin move.
Mark, I don't know if you can even hear this in your ears. Can you hear that?
I can.
Oh my gosh. Okay. The modern technology that we got here right now.
I know. It's like we just plugged it all into this Rubik's Cube and here we are. You know what I'm saying? Here's the deal, Mark. We got 2 ways to play this. I want you to feel comfortable in this, Mark. I don't want to take you out of your comfort zone, my man. So here's what we got. The way this goes down is we have a scenario, and then Neil and I do a draft of, we each take turns, 3v3. It's like a basketball game of 3 versus 3 people, but instead of getting buckets, we get points for our houses based on who does the best stuff. I didn't know where I was going. I was following up to Cliff. So either we can do 3v3v3 where you come up with the scenario as well, or maybe you could be the judge and then add just that comedic genius,
whichever one you want.
You have. That's the H stands for, is comedic genius. The H is silent.
I think the people are here for Tyler and Neil. I'd be happy to be the judge.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Okay.
Judge, jury, and execution.
Yeah. You're McNair from the 3rd Harry Potter book.
I haven't got there for
that
crying
tries
out
to
loud.
execute Buckbeak the hippogriff. Okay, so Mark's a big Harry Potter fan. All right, so whenever Mark, every time I'm in a group text and he's like, "Oh, so this is where I feel." This is how Mark talks usually. He's amping it up for this. He's like, "Oh, this is where I feel a little deficient. I don't know anything about anime or Vines or Harry Potter." Because me and Jared apparently that's what we know about it.
Oh my god!
What's the thing? Let me think. Where's the? Never mind. Okay, Hurricane Tortilla.
Where do I delete my Patreon account?
Hey,
no,
nope. You're locked in for life, bro. You're alive.
Life.
Patreon.com/explain everything. Mark, goodness, don't shout out about it.
Golly,
sheesh kebabs.
Everybody.
Okay, so here's the way we're doing it. Okay, we're going to Neil and I are going to take turns drafting the worst time and location to plan a church. And I think we didn't have this plan. We're going to make it up on the spot.
Okay.
You have to name the church as well. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what we got. Okay. Mark, feel in to add anything you want. You can go first, Neil, since you're the smartest.
I'm going to go first. Okay. So this is mine. I would say that October 8th, 1871.
Okay.
In the heart of Chicago.
Okay.
The day that the Great Chicago Fire kicks off and takes the majority of the city down.
That was bigger than the regular Chicago Fire.
Yeah, it's the Great Chicago Fire.
Gosh, it doesn't sound that great. It sounds pretty terrible.
And if you stretch that out, you're like, it's the Great Chicago
Fire.
The Great Chicago Fire.
Adam Sandler.
This is terrible. Millions of people lost their lives.
Oh, they just don't joke about it. It's 1871. They're all dead anyways. Even the ones that lived are dead.
Right. Yeah.
So
I would say that the church name is Hearts of Fire.
I'm sorry.
Is that bad?
Okay.
How do we do on that? Is that rough?
Yeah. It was perfect.
Okay.
That's the way he would have wanted it.
Okay.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. That threw me off a little bitsy bit. Okay. So I'll go with the start off with an easy one.
Okay. Okay.
It's planning in Australia in the year 1600. Europeans didn't find it until 1606. So it wasn't super populated and you wouldn't have spoken the language. But the only benefit would have been the cool name, the Down Under Thunder. The Down Under Thunder Church.
Oh my
Or you could have called it the Rescuers Down Under, like the movie, which hadn't come out yet either. Because movies didn't exist. But that would have been, you were rescuing people, the Rescuers Down Under. And then the movie would actually been about you because you are a mouse. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a twist at the end. You didn't see that coming.
I didn't see that one coming.
You're a mouse the whole time.
Mark, how are we doing so far?
He's blind in one eye.
This is terrible. This is terrible.
You're winning so far. You've drafted pretty well so far. I'm losing. Go ahead.
Okay. I would say the date is December 20th, 2019. That's your kickoff.
December 20th,
2019. This thing is about ready to kick off. You're super excited, and you're doing it at the premiere of Cats.
Some say that was worse than the Great Chicago Fire. Killed a lot of careers that day.
Oh my gosh!
I mean,
who's Idris Elba's in that?
Yep, nobody's seen him since.
Dame Judi Dench is in it. Yep. Taylor Swift is in it.
Yeah, that's what lost her that record deal. So she had to come up with her own album.
Oh my gosh!
Was that Taylor Swift's in it?
Yeah,
she hot?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't look at her girls either. That was a test.
I don't know. Yeah, James.
Nobody's seen him since.
No one has seen him since.
He's literally just driving in a car, asking people to interview.
Mark, didn't he do something like the Oscars or the Emmys where he came out dressed up as one of the cats?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think it was the ironic, like, we all know this is a dumpster fire, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did it as a joke.
I hope so.
It was funny. Okay.
Wow.
All right. Mine. I got it.
Wait, do we have a name? Do we have a name for that?
Oh my gosh. I didn't even think about that. No, like I'm allergic to cats.
Well, call it the...
What is it?
The Cat of Nine Tails.
Church. Oh my God. Cat of 19.
Cat of 19.
Yeah.
Oh, because it was right before COVID-19. So you would have not only because of the cat, but you're like, I'm going to stick around for a few months and everything shuts down in March.
They're a prophet.
They really are.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Okay. So mine, I'm going to give you, Mark, you try to guess. This is going to be a little choose your own adventure. I'm going to give you the location, time and location. No, I'm going to give you the time and I'm going to give you the name and you tell me what significance it has. Okay. So we'll say we plant it in 1955. Okay. And the name of our church is Twin Pines Church. What does that ring any bells?
Twin Pines?
Twin Pines. Like two trees. Twin Pines Church.
Not like two.
Why don't I know? I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what I would have worked. We start setting our foundation.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, a DeLorean.
Chairs.
Yeah, DeLorean appears out of nowhere and destroys our entire setup.
Yeah.
Some dude in a life preserver jumps out.
Yeah.
And is like, I was on Spin City.
Hey, so I keep going. That would.
Twin Pines Mall, 1955.
That would be absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Hey, I have this theory.
You don't look like it would.
No.
You look like you're winning, and I can see the confidence. But I'm going to win. My last one's really good.
Tom Holland is the Michael J. Fox of the 2020s.
Ooh, I can see that.
He's like 40 years old.
Tom Holland?
Yeah, I mean, he's not that old, but he's older.
21.
He's older. No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
How old is Tom Holland? 25. Okay, I was wrong.
Okay.
Still not 40.
Yeah, but he's
not 40.
He's
sorry, I don't know why I yelled.
I think he's going to be what Michael J. Fox was, because he's going to look young like that for a long time.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, he looks like he's 7.
He could do Teen Wolf 4.
Looks like a youth worker.
And we're going to be fine.
Mark, calm down.
Wow.
So there you go. Okay, so you got your third. You're winning.
Even know
you're winning right now.
I don't have a good third one.
I have a great third one.
I would say like anything above the Arctic Circle, anytime.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter when. It doesn't matter when. Are there anybody live up there? No. I would say Antarctica.
Okay.
Because there's like a couple dudes down there.
Totally.
There's like
Jeff.
Yeah.
His name is Jeff.
Jeff. And then you call it blessed are the happy feet of those two.
Yeah.
Blessed are the happy feet.
Ice and
too.
fire.
Happy feet too.
Happy feet. That's good. The land of ice and fire.
I don't know. That's because there's nobody down there.
Okay, so I got mine. Mark, you ready? I don't think you're ready to bump that jelly. That's what Beyonce said. I hope that's not inappropriate. Mark, Neil's winning right now, right? You would say?
It's about to shift.
Well, I'm about to LeBron James knock the ball out of Iguodala's hand on the layup right now. You ready for this? I know y'all appreciate that.
Yes, we both do.
Yeah, y'all are a big fan, but y'all were just some kids from Akron. Okay. So the year is not 19 anything. The year is 32 AD. My town I'm planning in Jericho. I'm going to call it Old Testament Church. Now, I'm in the middle of planting, and this rabbi is like a few, like less than 100 miles away.
Yeah.
And he's getting big crowd. I'm like, where are my people? They're walking out to this cat on some summit on the mountain, talking about Samaritans.
He's walking on water.
Ding dong ding. I'm like, quit, you show off. And I'm like trying to say, look, we need to focus on the Old Testament. Yeah. It's our only, I guess they called it the only testament back then.
Yeah, it's the only testament. That's actually the name of the church. Yeah, the only
testament church, and then another single testament church, and they came out with a new one. I was like, well, the whole name of the church is shot.
Yeah, it's over.
It's done.
Oh man,
I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to be biased, but mine, I have the best one.
Jesus juked us on this last one.
I really did. I was like, it's hard to compete with Jesus.
That's tough.
That's a good pastor,
especially when you're naming it. All right, Mark, you get to call.
Mark, you call it. Who won this one?
Man, I got to be honest. I think Neil won it on the first one.
Hang up on him
because
cut him off.
Sorry, caller. We've got to go to commercial.
Tyler Tarver speechless.
Yeah.
What was your Hearts of Fire name of the
Hearts
church?
Of Fire.
Hearts of Fire did. That was pretty solid.
Gosh.
All right, I'll allow that. Although you did choose that over Jesus, but that's fine, Mark. That's going to go down in your Lamb's Book of Life, okay? Just so you know. There's going to be a little asterisk on your name. Peter's going to be like, what does this asterisk mean? First off, your middle name's Heck, all right? Mark Heckin Cox. And then third off, it's just rude. I don't know what I was saying anymore.
He didn't have a third one, but he said that.
I was done. Hey, Mark, I guess, do you want to stick around for Will It Rock? Will you be our friend a little longer?
Of course I do.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
The question on everyone's mind, will it rock? The answer is probably yes.
Wow.
All right, Mark, you were pretty kind in letting us ramble-damble. So for this one, we'd like to pass the torch to you, if you will.
Yeah.
And we'd like to know, if The Rock was going to start a church, where would he start it and what would the name of it be? That's what I'd like to throw to you, Mark. If you need me to stall a little longer, I can. But I would love to know, Pastor Dwayne The Rock Johnson. What's it called?
Gosh, is it on the top of Mount Rushmore, which is the world's the nation's most famous rock?
Rock, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's solid.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
And you can start chipping away at Teddy. We need some diversity on there. A bunch of white dudes. We need to chip out Teddy.
Fault?
So what?
Does he do it on the San Andreas Fault?
I mean, that makes sense. It's a good collab with the movie. San Andreas 2.
2. Yeah, 2.
The first one.
More falling.
Killed.
Did you just make it happen in the jungle? Who knows?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Jumanji 3.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart, he'd be a great server.
You know what he could
do?
He could do it on the other side of the flat earth and he'd call it hello from the outside.
Hello. Yeah, Dale is his worship leader.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, that would be a banger.
That'd be incredible. I don't know how scriptural anything would be, but my gosh.
They say
it's tough to get there too.
What?
How do you get there? To the other side of
you roll in the deep.
That's how you get past the Antarctic on the edges. You roll into the
deep. Yeah, and then it rolls over there, and it's just the Moana.
Yes, I was going to say, yeah,
built island lady.
Oh, and he's there to welcome you. And he's like, "You're welcome."
Oh my gosh! When I made that Moana joke about that, I didn't even think about the fact that The Rock was the voice of that dude.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like he knew.
Oh my God.
Either The Rock or Jesus.
So, Mark, are you telling us that it will rock?
Absolutely.
Man. Which one? Choose, Mark. Neil or Tyler?
Oh, man, I tell you what, the fact that he would go through some sort of portal to go to the other side of the flat earth seems like a winner for the podcast.
That seems like the only one that's going to work.
That seems the only one to work.
Yep.
I mean, San Andreas actually might be San Andreas is like a wormhole to the other side of the earth because where the earth is falling apart, you could just like an elevator to the flat.
Oh my
earth.
gosh. It's like a New York City subway. Yeah.
Oh man. Which really, those are just worms, which come straight out of Dune.
Oh my gosh. Everything
naturally.
Comes from Dune. It all comes from Dune.
Dune.
Oh my gosh.
Mark, this went very different than I thought.
It went exactly where I thought it would. Mark, I love you.
Mark, I love you guys.
Thanks, man, for jumping in here at 12 a.m. on a Saturday night to do this with us.
We appreciate you, bro.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah. No, you guys keep doing what you're doing. This is great. I love it.
Yeah, Mark, but how great is it?
Fourth favorite podcast.
Yeah, there it is.
That's all I've ever wanted. What are your other 3 favorites? All right, Mark, that's all the time we got today. Thank you so much. He's like, courtesy laugh, talk hugs.
All podcasts. All right. Mark, thank you. Everybody that's listening, thank you. We shut a couple churches down, but hopefully we did some good in the process. And Mark did it best, and he did it first.
He really did. I mean, I planted in 2001, but we just now get around to that, talking about that. It's all about you two. All about y'all.
So Tyler started a church in 2001?
Yeah.
Gosh.
As a 10th grader. And I was like, I'm just going to jump on this old bandwagon, try to beat out COVID by a couple decades. So, me and Stephen Furtick just doing coloring books of our faces. There it is.
This is going to be a podcast entirely dedicated to the rise and fall of the Explain Everything podcast.
Our 3rd episode was like the rise and fall of Logan Paul, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did that.
And then he rose again.
Yeah.
Like
he's going to fall again.
Jesus.
Oh.
That's my first sermon.
All right,
well.
You have to say
it. All right, man. Hey, Mark, thanks again so much, man. We love you so much, man.
You're the best.
Bro, you're so cool, bro.
He's going to keep doing this.
Mark,
he wants to get a 3-hour episode.
Mark, where can people find you, man? Plug this camera, this camera, this camera. Tell us what you got going on.
What is happening right now?
Exactly. This is how they all end, Mark.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Explain Everything podcast. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Explain Everything Podcast. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but you're already here. We love you. No, actually, we're in love with you. Thanks for coming on our TED Talk. Bye.